The trade station lights flickered across the wide metal halls as a young alien girl named Alara walked with her parents, their faces pale with fear. They carried the weight of a family debt so heavy it could crush entire futures. The collectors had come again, their voices cold and sharp. And the only way to keep the family safe was the unthinkable. Alara kept her eyes low while strangers whispered around them. She heard words like payment and honor and exile. She knew her parents had no credits left, no rare crystals, no hidden treasure. Only her and the debt would not weather. Father spoke softly, telling her that a distant human colony had offered a bargain. The family owed a powerful syndicate, and a contract of marriage was the only path to freedom. If she agreed, the debt would disappear, but she would leave forever. Alara felt the floor tremble beneath her feet. Her heart raced like a wild creature. She wanted to run, but the faces of her younger brothers and sisters stopped her. They would be thrown into the cold void if she refused. She breathed once and nodded, though her chest ached. Guards arrived, their armor dark like the deep vacuum beyond the windows. They led her to the docking bay. A small ship waited, humming. With strange human technology, the scent of metal and ozone filled the air. Her parents stood behind a line of red light, unable to cross. Her mother whispered across the distance a blessing and a plea. Be brave, find hope. Alara wanted to reach for her, but the guards guided her forward. The door closed with a hiss and the station faded away behind her. Inside the transport, the walls glowed with soft blue light seats, empty except for her. She sat alone, listening to the gentle vibration of engines. The stars outside stretched like silver rivers. She thought of home of laughter, now silent. She wondered what kind of human would buy a bride-like cargo. Screen flickered near her seat. A message appeared with letters she could read even across. Languages: trust no one when you land. Her heart jumped. She looked around, but the cabin remained still, only the hum of power and the endless stars. The ship drifted through dark space while she fought the weight of fear. She tried to imagine the human. Groom, tall, maybe cruel, maybe gentle, maybe something else. She closed her eyes, trying to breathe steady. But the question returned. What kind of man waits at the end of this journey? Time passed slow like frozen water. Her thoughts, a circle of worry and wonder. She pressed her hand to the window and whispered to herself, I will not break even if they sold me. I will not break. The ship turned toward a distant planet, its surface a swirl of green and silver clouds. She could feel its gravity pulling. Already each heart beat louder than the engines as the docking alarm sounded. She stood ready, though her knees shook. The message echoed in her mind. Trust no one. When you land, and as the ship prepared to descend, Alara knew her life was about to change in ways she could not yet imagine. The small ship slid through the soft clouds of the human world, and the landing thrusters sang like distant thunder. Alara gripped the seat as the cabin lights turned a deep amber. Her heart raced with every vibration. She remembered the strange message, trust no one when you land, and the words scratched at her thoughts like hidden claws. The ramp lowered with a hiss of steam. The air smelled of warm soil and ocean wind, far different from the metal and dust of her home. The guards guided her forward, but their eyes held no warmth. Their voices stayed silent, as if they already feared what waited outside. Beyond the ramp, a crowd of humans stood in a wide circle, their clothing simple, their faces curious. Some looked at her with cold suspicion, others with quiet pity, and a few with something darker. She kept her gaze steady, even as fear pressed against her chest. A tall, human official stepped forward, holding a small tablet. He spoke in slow, careful words. Welcome to Haven Colony. We honor the agreement of union. He gestured to a path of pale stones leading toward a group of waiting figures. Among them stood a man in dark travel coat. His face hidden by the hood of a long cloak. Alara felt a sudden chill. Though the air was warm, the man did not move like the others. His presence carried an unspoken weight. The guards nudged her and she walked the stone path. Her mind, a storm of questions. Was this the human groom? Was he the danger? The message warned of as she drew closer. The hooded figure lifted his head and she caught a glimpse of sharp eyes that seemed to hold both kindness and something unreadable. A faint light from the twin suns caught the edge of his hair. A soft silver glow. He did not smile. He simply watched her every step. Before she could speak, a loud crack split the air behind the crowd. People gasped and turned. A distant tower of metal shimmered, then flickered like a broken beacon. The official barked orders into a small device, but no sound followed, only static. The colony seemed to pause as if holding a breath. The man in the cloak finally moved, his voice low and calm. "You are safe here. Follow me." His words carried strength that did not match the chaos around them. He motioned for her to walk beside him. She hesitated, remembering the warning, but something in his gaze urged trust. They entered a corridor carved into the side of a hill. Walls of living stone pulsed with faint blue light. The path twisted downward until the noise of the landing field was gone. He spoke without looking back. "Your family debt is only part of the truth. There are forces that wanted you delivered here for another reason." Alara felt her pulse quicken. "What reason?" she asked, but the man only shook his head. "Not yet. Soon you will see." The corridor opened to a hidden chamber filled with soft light and quiet machines. Symbols of both human and alien design glowed across the walls. He turned toward her and lowered the hood, revealing a face marked with faint scars and steady eyes. "My name is Kale," he said, "and I did not buy you." His words struck like a sudden wind. She stepped back, confusion and a flicker of relief fighting in her chest. "If you did not buy me, then why am I here?" Kale glanced toward a sealed door at the far end of the chamber. "Because," he said, "someone powerful believes you can stop a war that has not yet begun." Cold shiver ran through Alara as the chamber lights dimmed. The warning message burned again in her mind: "Trust no one when you land." And she wondered if even this man could be trusted as the door behind him slowly began to open. The sealed door slid open with a soft hiss and a pale blue mist drifted into the chamber. Alara stepped back, her heart thudding like a drum. The air smelled of ancient stone and cold metal. Kale motioned for her to follow, his eyes sharp and focused. She hesitated, but the strange pull of mystery pushed her feet forward. Beyond the door stretched a vast cavern lit by lines of glowing crystal that pulsed with a rhythm like a heartbeat. The floor shimmered as if liquid light flowed beneath the stone. Distant echoes of dripping water mingled with a faint hum that seemed to come from the walls themselves. Alara felt a strange energy crawl along her skin. She asked, "What is this place?" Kyle replied, "This is an old sanctuary built before humans. Across the stars it holds knowledge hidden from both our worlds and perhaps the reason you were brought here." She tried to steady her breathing, but the cavern felt alive. Shadows moved, where no one stood, and whispers brushed her ears. Though no mouth spoke, she sensed unseen watchers and the warning, "Trust no one." "When you land," repeated in her mind like a relentless drum. Kale led her to a raised platform, where an ancient console rested, its surface carved with symbols from her own language. "Though no living soul should know them," he said, "these markings are from your people long before the debt, long before even the council that controls your homeworld." Alara traced the symbols with trembling fingers. They told stories of a star war, a time when her ancestors forged alliances with humans long before history recorded such a thing. She asked, "How do you know this?" Kale looked at her with a calm that hid storms. "I found this place years ago, but I could never unlock it until you came." A low vibration shook the cavern. Dust fell like silver rain from the high ceiling. A deep voice rumbled through hidden speakers. "Unidentified vessel entering orbit. Unauthorized presence detected." Kale stiffened and pulled a small device from his coat. He spoke quickly. "We have little time. They know you arrived." The hum grew louder as the crystals brightened their glow. A distant mechanical roar echoed like thunder. Alara felt her pulse race. She stepped closer to Kale. "What does this mean?" "Who are they?" He answered, "The syndicate that owns your family debt. But there is more. Someone else follows them." Someone worse. Lights along the platform flickered and a thin beam of white energy formed a floating screen. An image appeared, showing a black ship with crimson markings slicing through the upper atmosphere. Kale whispered, "They should not have found this world so fast. We must move." He guided her deeper into the cavern through narrow tunnels lit by flickers of crystal fire. The ground shook. With each passing moment, the air warmed and a low alarm began to sound from the walls. Alara asked, "Why me? Why do they want me?" Kyle glanced back, his face tight. Because you carry something in your blood. A code, an echo of a treaty that can wake old. Power. She tried to speak, but another tremor nearly threw her to the floor. Kyle steadied her with a firm hand. We cannot let them capture you if they do. They will start a war that will burn every star in this sector. The tunnel ended at a hidden dock, where a sleek craft waited its silver surface reflecting the crystal light. Kale pressed a panel and the hatch opened. Hurry. He said we must reach the outer rim before their blockade forms, as Alara stepped inside the craft. She looked back once more. The cavern glowed brighter than before, the crystals singing a silent song of warning. She felt the weight of unknown destiny settle on her shoulders. The message echoed again. Trust no one when you land. And she wondered if even Kale himself was free of the shadow now chasing them. The silver craft lifted from the hidden dock with a smooth rise, engines whispering like soft thunder. Ilara sat near the narrow window, watching the cavern fade into a blur of blue light. Kyle moved to the control panel, his fingers flying across glowing keys. His face calm but his eyes sharp with quiet urgency. Outside, the tunnel opened into a wide sky filled with streaks of green clouds and distant flashes of red lightning. The black ship with crimson markings hovered high above like a silent predator waiting for prey. Alara felt the weight of its presence as if the ship itself watched her. Kale adjusted the flight path, and the craft darted into a low valley covered with thick silver trees. Their branches shimmered like frozen starlight. He said, we need to reach the far side of the mountain range. There is an old relay station hidden in the cliffs. It may give us a path through the blockade. Alara asked how long before they find us. Kale replied, not long. They have trackers that can read a heartbeat across 100 miles. His voice carried no fear, only focused resolve. Sudden tremor shook the craft. Alarms flared, a sharp tone slicing the silence. Kyle glanced at a monitor. Their drones have found us. Hold on. From the clouds, 3 dark orbs shot downward, glowing red like falling stars. They split apart, forming a ring around the craft. Beams of light lanced toward them. Kale pulled the controls hard and the craft spun through a break-in. The valley tree's branches scraped the hull. Sparks flashed across the window. Alara gripped the seat, her heart racing as the craft dropped into a deep canyon. The wall so close she could almost touch the jagged stone. Kyle said, they will not fire. Near the canyon walls we have a small chance. The drones followed, swift and silent, their red eyes glowing brighter. One fired a thin beam that grazed the rear engine. A trail of smoke filled the cabin. Kale slammed a lever, and the craft jerked left, into a dark tunnel carved by ancient water. The sound of rushing air roared around them. For a moment all was dark. Only the soft blue lights inside the cabin remained. Ilara listened to the echo of the engine and the pounding of her own heart. Kyle said, we must land soon before the damage grows worse. The tunnel opened into a hidden cavern lit by faint crystal veins, similar to the sanctuary they had left. The craft settled onto a flat rock surface with a soft thud. Kyle stood and checked a small scanner. They will search this place, but we have minutes, maybe more. Alara stepped outside the hatch, the air cool and damp, carrying a scent of mineral and moss. She looked around. Shadows shifted along the walls as if the cavern breathed. She asked, why are they after me with such force? Kyle met her eyes. Because your blood holds an ancient signature, a code that can unlock a weapon or a treaty. No one wants the other to control. She felt a chill run through her skin. What if they catch me? Kale answered. They cannot, or the stars themselves will burn. His words heavy with quiet truth. A faint sound reached them from the tunnel entrance, a distant metallic scrape. Kale motioned for silence. He drew a small blade that shimmered with soft light. The sound grew louder, echoing like a slow drum, footsteps of machine. Alara pressed against the stone, heart hammering. She remembered the warning, trust no one when you land, and a question burned in her mind. Could she trust even Kale now? Shadows deepened. The scrape became a low rumble. Then a sudden burst of bright red light filled the tunnel as one of the drones emerged, its eye glowing like a small sun. Kale moved between her and the machine, his stance steady, his blade ready. The drone paused, scanning them with a slow pulse of crimson glow. The cavern air grew heavy like the moment before a storm. Alara felt every second stretch into forever, unsure if the next breath would bring escape or the end. The crimson glow from the drone filled the cavern like a rising dawn. Elara stood frozen, her heartbeat loud in her ears. Kale raised his shimmering blade. The faint blue light along its edge flickered like a living flame. The drone hovered still, then released a sudden burst of sound, a high ringing tone that made the stone walls tremble. Kale stepped forward, slow and careful, his voice low. "Stay behind me," Elara watched as the drone tilted its metal head. A thin beam of red light scanned across the cavern floor, stopping on her face. She felt the strange heat of it like a silent question in the air. The drone spoke in a flat, mechanical voice. "Target confirmed, priority 1, capture alive authorization. Omega." The words echoed through the cavern, cold and final. Kale shifted his stance, ready for attack, but before he moved, the drone fired a net of glowing threads toward them. Kale slashed through the net with a single strike. The blue edge of his blade cutting the threads into sparks. He grabbed Elara's hand and pulled her deeper into the cavern. They ran across uneven stone as the drone followed with a rising mechanical shriek. The tunnel twisted like a serpent. Sharp turns and sudden drops. Their footsteps echoed in the dark. Elara's lungs burned, but she kept pace, the memory of the warning trust. "No one when you land," throbbed in her thoughts like a second heartbeat. Behind them, the drone fired another beam. It struck the wall, sending a shower of glowing dust across their path. Kale glanced back, his eyes cold with focus. "We need to reach the hidden lift before it seals." He said, "The relay station above will give us a way out." They reached a narrow ledge overlooking a deep shaft far below. Faint lights glimmered like distant stars. Kyle pressed a hidden panel and a small platform rose with a low hum. "Hurry," he urged as the drone burst into view at the tunnel mouth. The platform began to rise, slow and silent. The drone darted forward, firing a beam that grazed the edge of the lift. The metal sparked but held. Kale raised his blade again, but the drone hesitated. Its red eye dimmed for a heartbeat, then brightened as if some inner conflict stalled its strike. Elara watched the machine. Her breath held. The drone emitted a strange tone, almost like a whisper in her language, a single word: surrender. Then it shot upward, chasing them into the higher cavern. Kale leapt from the platform to a side tunnel, pulling her with him. They tumbled onto rough stone just as a blast of red light tore through the space where they had been. The platform melted into a pool of glowing slag. The drone shrieked a sound of metal fury. The side tunnel opened into a chamber filled with old machines covered in dust. Screens flickered alive as they entered. Symbols from both human and alien scripts danced across the walls. Kale moved quickly to a central console, his fingers pressing ancient keys. The chamber lights brightened, revealing a massive door carved with her people symbols. Elara felt a deep vibration in her chest. The markings matched those from the sanctuary below. She stepped closer. A strange warmth spread through her skin as the door responded to her presence. Kale turned to her, his eyes urgent. "You must open it, only you. Can the code is in your blood?" She hesitated, the sound of the approaching drone echoing nearer. She placed her hand on the door, and a surge of light shot through the chamber. The door split open with a sound like thunder. Beyond lay a vast control hall filled with glowing crystal pillars and a central sphere pulsing with gentle blue fire. Kale whispered, "This is the heart of the ancient alliance, the proof of a pact between your people and humans from long before our wars." Before Elara could speak, the drone burst through the chamber wall, its red light blazing brighter than ever. The sphere pulsed faster, as if answering the threat. Kale stepped forward. Blade raised, his voice steady. "Stay behind me. Whatever happens, do not let them take." Elara felt the chamber itself awaken, the crystals humming a song older than stars. The warning still echoed, "Trust no one." When you land yet, she sensed this place called to her, a promise of power, and a choice that could change every world. The crystal hall trembled as the drone advanced, its red light cutting through the blue glow of the ancient sphere. Elara felt the vibration in her bones. Kale stood firm, his blade a thin arc of living blue fire. The drone spoke again, its voice colder. "Then the void surrender the code or worlds will burn." Kale moved fast, striking with a slash of light. The drone dodged and fired a beam that split a pillar of crystal. Sparks rained like falling stars. The hall echoed with the sound of metal and energy. Elara pressed her hands against the sphere and felt a pulse answer. her touch a deep rhythm like a heartbeat older than time. Visions rushed into her mind. Endless stars. Endless wars. She saw the first alliance of humans and her ancestors. She heard voices of long-lost leaders whispering of unity and peace. A single phrase echoed in every language: protect the bridge between worlds. The sphere warmed under her palms. A thin line of light traveled up her arms. The markings of her people glowed. Along her skin, Kale glanced back, his eyes wide. The code has chosen you. He said they cannot take it now unless you give it willingly. The drone shrieked and launched forward. Kale blocked the strike. Sparks filled the air. He pushed the machine back, but it recovered fast, its red eye burning brighter. Ilara felt a surge of energy from the sphere. The light wrapped around her like a shield. She stepped forward without fear. The drone aimed at her. A beam of dark crimson light shot across the hall. The shield of blue fire rose from the sphere and shattered the beam into harmless mist. The machine hesitated as if confused. Ilara spoke in a calm voice she barely recognized. Leave this place or face the power of the first pact. For a moment the hall grew silent. Only the soft hum of the sphere remained. The drone emitted a low metallic tone almost like fear. Then it retreated slowly through the broken wall and vanished into the dark tunnels beyond. Kale lowered his blade, breathing hard, and looked at Ilara with quiet wonder. You have awakened the old alliance, he said. Now the code lives inside you. The syndicate will fear what you are. Ilara turned to the sphere, the light still dancing across her skin. She asked, What happens now, Kale? Answered, Now you decide whether to hide or to lead. The code gives you the right to call both our peoples to stand together against those who seek war. The sphere pulsed once more, sending a soft wave of light through the hall. She felt its warmth settle into her heart. She thought of her family, her home, her people bound by debt and fear. She thought of humans living under distant stars. She knew the choice was hers. She faced Kyle, her voice steady. I will not hide. I will unite them. The code is not a weapon. It is a promise. Kale nodded, a faint smile crossing his scarred face. Then we begin, he said. But we must move fast. The syndicate will return with more than drones. They left the crystal hall through a passage that rose toward the surface. The walls shimmered as if blessing their path when they reached the open night sky. The twin moons hung bright over the valley. The air carried a new calm and a quiet strength. Behind them, the ancient hall sealed itself, the blue light fading into the stone as if it had never been. The stars above seemed closer, clearer, each one a witness to the new bond formed in that hidden place. Ilara looked at the horizon, where human cities glowed like clusters of fire. She felt no fear, only purpose. The message that once warned, trust no one when you land, now changed in her heart. Trust the bond you create. She stepped forward with Kale ready to carry the code and its promise to every corner of the galaxy.